Hey everybody, how y'all doing? This is going to be the longer of two parallel videos that basically give an introduction. What is the press conference, right? What conversations are you talking about? Open houses, SNAC.bar, Togetherland, Love in the Haight. What is all this? Okay, so this is the longer form. So, pour yourself a cup of tea and enjoy, because we're going to cover a lot of ground in a short period of time. So, what am I going to talk about? I'm first going to talk about conversations and in particular, transformational conversations. And then from there to a whole network of these, a whole network of transformational conversations. We're just going to call it a network of conversations. Leave it at that, but the transformational is understood. I'm going to lay out some stuff that for me is very basic and straightforward and elemental, fundamental to this whole network of conversations, which is emergent and has tremendous potential. We can all feel it, right? It's a question of how do we get there, right? And we need to get there really fast because of the obvious reasons, right? So I'm going to propose kind of a review of where we've been and what the evolution of this emergent network of conversations has looked like thus far. And I'm going to propose some really critical missing elements to the cauldron, as Nick Bostrom writes in his book, Superintelligence, which, by the way, Bill Gates raves about. Okay, I mean, he just highly recommends it. And Bill Gates is, love him or hate him, he's a really devoted student of artificial intelligence, to put it mildly. And so he knows what he's talking about. Anyway, there's some nuggets in there that I'm going to put on the table, but he presents a framework where there's just some missing key magical ingredients to the cauldron that'll make this thing go off exponentially. So I'll cover that. I'm going to make mention of SRM, which I also talk about in the Hairy Man video, which I highly recommend. But I'll loop that in as an example of something that is absolutely critical to saving life on Earth right now. And we can do it right now, and we have to do it right now. But if you're watching this video now, odds are you've never heard of SRM. Whoa, that's a big problem. So we're going to talk about how, with the cauldron now fully ablaze with collective superintelligence, we can now really go places. Anyway, we'll get into that. And SRM is just the tip of the iceberg, right? It's just one of many urgent things. Just think about what you think about all the time is most urgent, right? And imagine bringing that in. So we're going to bring all these most urgent things in and finally address them responsibly with the collective superintelligence of a network of conversations. Full stop. I mean, that's the headline right there. Right? Humanity solves the world's most urgent problems, applying collective superintelligence emergent from the emergent network of conversations. Rewind that 10 seconds if you need to, a few times if you need to, but that's the headline right there. Then I'm going to get more granular on exactly where we've been on the key ingredients, basic ingredients to the cauldron that have been pouring in, and we're just like almost there. We almost have a complete cauldron ready to go ablaze with collective superintelligence. But I'll talk about how we got there, or how we got here, right? Along the way, I'm going to mention a number of great examples, like World Unity Week, like Good of the Whole, Rebel Wisdom. There's too many to mention, but I'm going to mention a few and just give some examples. And then I'm going to talk about like where we are right now and what literally the next 3-4 ingredients are that I recommend. But I'm just one person. What are the key missing ingredients you recommend? Come to the press conference and present them. 2 minutes each. If you have 7 of them, schedule 7 different 2-minute presentations. either back to back or spread out. Just, let us know so we can schedule you. And of course, each of those will lead to an ongoing conversation. That's part of the fundamental ingredients that I'm going to throw down. And at that point, I'll do a deeper dive into some of the core concepts. I'll then reiterate the invitation that I made, the hairy guy invitation, but that which will make a lot more sense with all the preceding of the agenda covered. And the bottom line is jump in, and there's going to be a hi there moment at the end, and let's get on with it. Okay, so that's the agenda. Let's take a deep breath and dive into it. All right, so the first agenda item is conversations. Conversations are things, right? And, we all have an idea of what we mean when we say a conversation. And then, COVID happened and we all jumped on Zoom and started talking with each other on Zoom, but that didn't fundamentally or radically transform our view of what a conversation is. That's what I hope to achieve today with this video. If you haven't already made the transformation to the other side, in which case we're working together already. If you haven't yet made the transformation, that's what I invite you to be open to over the course of this video, is having a radical transformation in your view of what a conversation is and what that implies for the emergent network of conversations and where we can go from here. So please do what you need to do. Pause this video if you need to, but get into the zone because we're going to go deep. So a transformational conversation. What's a transformational conversation? It's a conversation that is fundamentally about one or more facets of saving, healing, and transforming life on Earth. Now consider the whole network of these conversations. And at this point, I'm just going to call it Zoom. I'm just going to call it transformational conversations on Zoom. Let's just keep it simple. The Zoomosphere. Obviously, there are multiple platforms. And what I really mean when I say Zoom is all of those. It's easier to just say Zoom than a whole paragraph. Okay, so Zoom, the Zoomosphere. Let's look at some really basic concepts. And this is like basic ABCs. Hopefully you don't get bored. For me, this is super fun. Okay, so what do we got here? It's just sort of a visual key that I'm putting together that I'll just kind of highlight certain things as we go. So a conversation I just symbolize with a black dot, right? Really simple. And then a person is a smaller dot, a circle, a donut. So a bunch of folks having a conversation looks like this. The conversation is the thing. Think of it as kind of like the table in the middle, and you got the people surrounding it. And then this thing with a line through it indicates a recurring or ongoing conversation. Okay, fair enough. And now let's use these concepts. Always rewind if you need to get a second look. And now I'm going to shift gears and talk about a taxonomy of topics, right? Look up taxonomy if you need to. It's basically just sort of like an inverted tree, as we'll see here in these images below. And I'm going to talk about, this is a fancy word, but don't let it scare you. Here, let me just write it out. The word is a teleological taxonomy. Okay, the teleological taxonomy. That is a taxonomy that has a telos. Just look these things up. The telos is the aim. What is the aim, right? Well, imagine that our aim is saving, healing, and transforming life on Earth. Does that sound familiar? Yes, that's the basis that's the definition of a transformational conversation, is a conversation with that telos, with that aim. So I just represented it as Mother Earth. And then imagine we then, break it down. Of course, these things are not separable, but they can still be looked at as different facets. There's nothing wrong with that. So imagine these three facets, among many: cooling the planet, feeding everyone, and a new story for humanity. Okay. And of course, many, 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 many more. Now, each of these then breaks down into its parts, right? A new story for humanity presumably has a beginning, some middle, and an end, right? Cooling the planet, well, there's really two ways to cool a planet, as I talk about in the Hairy Guy video. There's drawdown, and then there's SRM. By the way, in that video, I made a verbal blooper equating SRM to drawdown. They're totally separate. Sorry about that. Anyway, SRM breaks down into myriad different facets, and not just the different engineering solutions of SRM or solar radiation management. Please look that one up. Wikipedia has a great basic article about it. But the best solutions are essentially unknown to humanity, unknown to the vast majority. There's the Harvard solution, the Stanford solution. So it's not like these solutions live in obscure institutions that no one's heard of. To the contrary. So part of what's really exciting about all this is that with this exponentially growing and whose in network of conversations whose intelligence is exponentially growing, we're finally going to be able to get these on the table and get them discussed, agreed to, and implemented. I'm predicting here, it's up to humanity to figure this out as a collective, as a whole. But anyway, think of this as just a simplified image of the teleological taxonomy. You have the telos, or the aim, in our case, saving, healing, and transforming life on Earth. And then you have all the different major facets. Think of these as topics, right? And then you have subtopics. I mean, it's really simple. It's nothing really out of this world. It's when you put all these pieces together finally that you get something out of this world, right? Okay, so now imagine taking this teleological taxonomy, right? This, which of course goes on and on and on and on and on. I'm just kind of representing it kind of symbolically. It probably goes in easily 20 layers deep. Which is a lot of layers, by the way. And in some cases, 10 layers deep in others, 5 in others, whatever, right? But the bottom line is, it's a pretty big thing. That's why I show these ellipses here. It really goes on and on and on, really deep. But imagine we lay that on its back. Here it is standing up straight with the head at the top. Imagine the head is to the left and it's all on the same level. And so we spread this whole near infinite teleological taxonomy, we spread it out on the table, so to speak. What's the table? The XY plane. The XY plane, okay. And then what's the Z plane going up? It's time. And so why do we do that? Okay, I'm gonna use a different color to highlight something that I'd written in green. Watch the yellow. So imagine that a conversation, remember I showed that a dot, I promised it would be a black dot. Now it's a green dot, but it's a dot. A solid dot is a conversation. Imagine this conversation starts here, in the air-conditioned mall. You look on the map, you are here. This is where you are, okay? Right now, at this moment in time, at t = 0, okay? And then as time progresses, the conversation starts to go places, right? It's meandering around. If you could look at its projection, right, on the map below, let me draw a representation of its projection. Its projection might be, it starts here, and then it goes this way, and then it goes up this way. We're now in the XY plane, right? But in any case, it's a downward projection of that, and then it doubles back this way, and it does this. But see, this thin yellow line is confined to the XY plane, right, of the teleological taxonomy. The thick yellow line, right, goes 3D. Yes, it moves around the XY plane, but it's going up, 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 and away, always upward in time, forward in time, okay? So that's an evolving conversation. And then we can imagine, now I've taken away the teleological taxonomy from the drawing, but it's very much there. So just imagine this same lying on its back teleological taxonomy is right here in what you're looking at now, but we're just focusing on these conversations right now. And so you have different conversations with different starting points and different trajectories. Some of these just take a straight line. Hey, we're just focused on this topic, okay? We're not going to deviate. Others start here and say, oh, let's go here and here. Oh my God. Oh, wow. And this one, oh, it starts here and then it just goes deeper and deeper, whatever, right? The reality is, each one will take its own course. Now consider something very special. Consider this intersection. These two intersect. What? What might that look like? Okay, pop quiz. What are the little circles that are hollow? The little donuts in this picture? You guessed it, people. The black dots are conversations. So you have all these different conversations following their respective trajectories upward, right? Again, some of them wandering around and meandering. But imagine these two conversations here, boop, intersected, right? I'm going to draw this oval around them. What if those two became one? Here, let me draw it as a heart instead. What if those two became one? For a while, right? Or maybe even forever. They could even merge and say, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I found you. So that happened this last Friday at the last Friday block party. We were on a path, and Brett Warshawski and company with Togetherland were on a path, and they still are. And we've come together and started like hanging out, and we're going to build Love in the Haight together. H-A-I-G-H-T, as in Haight-Ashbury, San Francisco. Summer of Love, 1967. And it's just super cool. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so just imagine this happening all over the place. These are the basics, right, that I'm talking about. And we're going to now take these basics and do really fun things with them, really powerful things. But just consider the power of this. You might want to rewind and watch this again, because last 5 minutes again, because it's just really good stuff, right? So again, we're starting with some really basic stuff: a conversation, a person, a bunch of folks having a conversation, a recurring or ongoing conversation. Maybe it meets once a week, maybe it meets once a month, maybe it meets once a day, right? But whatever. And from there we looked at taxonomy of topics, teleological taxonomy, and just having conversations all over the taxonomy and evolving and moving around and intersecting and merging, and then they can split apart. And in fact, a conversation could equally well diverge and say, listen, there's 3 different kind of factions forming from this conversation here as it progresses in time. We've reached a point where we need to go our separate ways, faction A, faction B, faction C. Doesn't mean there's a conflict or anything like that. It could be that we're in such close synchronicity that we choose to branch off into different conversations, right? Okay. Anyway, enough on that for the moment. A lot to cover here. But let me get off screen share, and then let's get ready for what's next. All right, and I know I've got a bit mathematical and geometrical there, and there's nothing wrong with that. But let me get kind of more down to earth and more heart centric, not so head centric, but more heart centric. My big hypothesis, and I invite you to make it yours as well, is if we're going to save, heal, and transform life on Earth, and I'm confident we will, supremely confident, it will be because we, humanity, created and engaged in and nurtured the right conversations, urgent conversations about what we actually need to do, what we need to build together, co-create. Conversations which helped us see, what's really going on, what's reality here. Right? Conversations which inspire us to come together. Right? Conversations which inspire us to take right actions. Conversations which inspire us to build communities and movements. From the atomic level, conversations, open houses, which I'll talk about in a little bit, all the way to whole networks of conversations, all the way to the network of conversations itself, the planetary network of conversations. We need transformational conversations spanning each and every facet, which beckons to be transformed, right? So for example, the temperature of the planet, it's exponentially overheating. We see the disasters everywhere. It's massive crop failures. I mean, it's beyond urgent. People talk about 2050 and 2100. We need to cool the planet now, and we can, right? But we need to understand, and we can do this through conversation, because in conversation, we uncover what's missing, what are you not getting, what's missing. We uncover it, we synthesize it, we summarize it, we practice it until we get it down to a meme. And then people get it. Oh my goodness, it's the heat, stupid. That's meme number one, which in the sense that it's causing all these other problems. And we need to understand exactly what's driving planetary overheating. On Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. Pacific time, we're going to have Professor Guy McPherson and Dr. Ye Tao on the first press conference. They're going to unpack exactly what's driving planetary overheating, how bad it is, how urgent it is, and what solutions exist, and the myriad facets of each solution that need to be mastered. Wow, I've said a lot, rewind it if you need to. But we need transformational conversations spanning planetary overheating and its solution. I mean, it's just as simple as that, right? It's as simple as that. We can cool our planet. We need to cool our planet. We must cool our planet, and we will cool our planet. Join us. And how to join us? Join the conversation. Present at the press conference. Join the conversation.cc, which is 24/7. Links below. We need transformational conversations which address the decimation of rainforests, wetlands, and other ecosystems, which are being decimated, burned, cleared. For what? For animal agriculture, mainly. Grazing land for cattle, soybeans for pigs, you name it. But it's decimate the natural environment in order to win at the current game, which is hoard or die, accumulate or die, right? Either die of starvation, or die because you don't have enough money to attract a mate to be able to reproduce, because you can't buy a house, and a car, and and all the comforts, etc. So we're playing the game that was laid out for us very efficiently. It's now time to change the game. So how do we do that? Well, first thing, change our diet, change what we eat, get off meat. That'll stop the decimation. It's as simple as that. And then we can actually return this land to nature. Thank you, Dr. Sailesh Rao. By the way, you can talk with Dr. Sailesh Rao and me every Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. and 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific time. Links below at the block party. Come join us. What are some of the others? As we've seen on the screen, A New Story for Humanity. Who are we? Why are we here? How did we get here? Where are we going? Why? Right? Let's get into it. I'm not saying there'll be easy answers, but if we don't have the conversations, we're not going to get to the answers. Transforming our entire set of living arrangements. I've talked about diet. We also need to transform where we live, how we live. What's the game we're playing, right? From hoarding and accumulation hoarding to a game of healing. And it's as simple as that. Other transformational conversations that we need to have: transforming our entire set of human politics, refreezing the Arctic, deacidifying and cooling the world's oceans, and saving the myriad ocean ecosystems, and on and on and on. I'm just giving some of the the usual examples, right? So what we need is a tightly integrated network of conversations with myriad connections between the different specific conversations. And I want to point out that this is actually very new in the human experience, because the Zoomosphere is very new in the human experience. And COVID, making us all live at home, stay at home, is new in the human experience. The obviousness of the world's problems, they've come home to roost. It's as simple as that. They're now obvious. They're now cockle-doodle-doing at 4 o'clock in the morning. You can't ignore it, right? But let's look at kind of where we've been, because there's some pretty good analogies from the past in terms of networks of conversations that are transformational. Some great examples: academia and academic publishing that refers and references each other, which in turn was the inspiration for Google, which just overlaid those fundamental mechanics, foundational elements on top of the World Wide Web itself, and we got Google and search and advanced search and all this great stuff. Another example is the blogosphere, right? With its myriad connections, tracebacks, trackbacks, whatever, and other forms of linkages, right? Which can be quite rich. Facebook conversations, and the branching of the same, et cetera. Reddit, notably, Twitter, and myriad other forms of social media. And just as all these have really helped connect content on the internet, and Google, notably with its massive index of the internet, makes searchable and therefore connects, intentions with resources. This is a recurring theme. I have an intention, I'm looking for something, boom, I get connected to the thing I'm looking for. I mean, it's obvious. We're so used to it now, we almost take it for granted. Imagine that's been mastered for the internet as a whole, V1, V2 of the internet, or Web 2.0, or whatever people call it. And these have created just powerful connections which have changed our reality and what we conceive of as possible. We're standing on the verge of a Google-esque connected network of, drumroll, conversations. That's why I'm here. That's why we're here, researching, developing, experimenting with new forms and structures. That's why I'm talking to you right now. That's why we're doing the press conference and so many other things. And so now let's kind of get more into the details of that. But first, I wanted to talk about collective superintelligence. I'm going to include the link below to a white paper on Radish, where we quote from Nick Bostrom, who I mentioned earlier, author of the book Superintelligence. He talks about collective superintelligence and the missing ingredients to the cauldron and all that. I just wanted to point to it. Please check it out. It's really good stuff. But the bottom line is we're right on the verge of exponentially growing collective superintelligence, by which we'll be able to actually identify the most urgent priorities, like SRM, like feeding everyone, like getting off of meat and dairy, right? Going 100% plant-based. So, I mentioned I was going to talk about, where we've been, okay? The past several months during the COVID times, during which the Zoomosphere has exploded, we've just seen this explosion in these transformational conversations. They're all over the place. There's literally millions of them. But we don't know about the others. We know about our own and a few near neighbors, topic-wise, right? Or social network-wise. But we don't know about the whole. We don't have programmatic access, systematic access to the whole of the Zoomosphere, of the ones that are public and saying, hey, join us, join us, join us. Nobody knows how to find them, right? There's no directory, there's no map. And so these are the fundamental missing ingredients that we seek to put into the cauldron of collective superintelligence. World Unity Week was groundbreaking in that, and thank you, John Raymer, Ben Bowler, Becky, Ariel, Heidi. I mean, so many folks. I'm not even going to begin to scratch the surface, but thank you all so much. That showed us a living, breathing example of a working network of conversations that was deep and broad and rich, and it lasted for 1 week. And at the end of that 1 week, everybody needed a break, and that's understandable. And that was part of the inspiration for theconversation.cc, link below, which took that 24/7 and said, okay, let's just do this ongoingly, right? And we've been doing it in our own kind of clumsy way, learning as we go. Good of the Whole actually pioneered almost a 24/7, shall we say, network of conversations, long before the conversation.cc. And they do such a professional job of it. I would say probably more professional than the conversation.cc. We're not trying to be professional. We are, just innovating at the speed of thought and just cooking up a bunch of stuff. So everyone has their place. I'm not trying to compare or anything like that, because we all work together, and it's a really beautiful thing that we do that. Within radish.org, which I preside over at present, among other responsibilities, we started the social club at the end of the world several years ago and evolved that into the Solution Club, meets every Tuesday. It's all on the conversation.cc because we consolidated it all. But before that, going back to pre-COVID, we started the weekly 24-hour collective intelligence block party to bring together precisely these communities, groups, conversations focused on collective intelligence and collective superintelligence and the missing ingredients from the cauldron. So that's been super cool. That's all now on the conversation.cc, which we then started, like I said, after World Unity Week, so that we could have something that's 24/7. And now, let me show some images that I haven't shown you yet. Let me make sure this is ready. Okay, sharing my screen. So consider, now kind of just sort of jumping into brass tacks. Again, the things with black dots represent, whoops, these represent conversations. Oops, okay, these are conversations, all these. So at the press conference, we're gonna have a whole bunch of 2-minute talks where people introduce conversations and say, hello world, we're here. You know, we're here and we are basically ready to take off, each of us on our own upward trajectory, whatever that may be, right? But here we are. And the cool, and with the open houses, and you can learn more about all this on thepressconference.org, but with the open houses, here's the gist of it. It's really simple. It's a home for these conversations, right? It's a place that you can go that's safe and that you can learn about these different conversations and participate in them, right? So, you know, Hello World is the press conference introducing these conversations. Open houses give them a home, right? And SNAC.bar creates a menu so that you can find all the conversations and all the open houses. Right here in this view, I just show the conversations because that's really what people are looking for. What are people talking about? Whether it's about climate change, whether it's about the Amazon and other rainforests, whether it's about human needs and human rights, like feeding everyone, these are the conversations. We call it SNAC.bar because you can click on any one of those and literally watch the 2-minute video that was presented at the press conference by you, right? Now anyone can watch it and say, wow, that's super cool. Hey, wow, I want to join that conversation. Where is it happening? Boom, at this open house. What's an example of an open house? Love and the Haight, right? Which we talk about on 2 long videos. I think I'm going to put that in the philosophy section of the pressconference.org. But anyway, I'll link to it below. And I mean, it's kind of as simple as that, because we see these as just fundamental elements that are just missing at this point. And so we're just jumping in, and again, in a kind of a clumsy way, I must say, because, you know, we're breaking some vegan eggs in the process, and, you know, so what? We got to get moving, right? The press conference, hello world, announcing the conversations. Hey, open houses, a place for them to live, which can then network with each other and take field trips with each other. Anyway, there's really interesting, rich dynamics between conversations and open houses. I'm not going to go into it too deep here, but basically an open house can be a confluence of a bunch of different conversations, and they can be conversations that are presented by different people, right? And, you know, different people can team up on an open house, like Brett Warshawski and company and the conversation.cc are teaming up on Love and the Haight, the open house, and so on. So these are the key, and then, you know, the map, the directory, the SNAC.bar, the menu, really simple. You can snack on climate change, 2-minute videos. You can snack on the Amazon, snack on human needs and human rights and solutions, and so many other topics and subtopics. Basically, we're going to map out the whole taxonomy here. And then you can find, okay, for this point in the taxonomy, what are the conversations that are happening that are related to that? It's really that simple, not very complicated stuff. And like I promised, I just want to reiterate my invitation. Sign up. The link is below. Sign up to present for 2 minutes at the press conference. And you can do it once or you can do it multiple times. You can present on different weekly press conferences. It's every Thursday. But jump in, sign up, present, and then associate your presentation with an open house. And then we put it up on the map, and we put it up on SNAC.bar. so that people can find you. And jump into your open house. Look, you can do an open house once a month for 1 hour. It's not like a big time commitment, but give people an opportunity to talk to you. Give them a place where they can find you that's easy, where they don't have to email you in advance or friend you or unfriend you or whatever weird stuff. No, just show up. Just show up. Right. And if you want an example of what I'm talking about, come to theconversation.cc, where we have an ongoing campfire 24/7. Just jump in. Remember, I promised a hi there moment at the end. Hi there. Are you listening? We're on the verge of exponentially growing collective superintelligence. We're going to make it safe for the rest of humanity to jump in. But you're already in the conversation. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this video. Okay, you're in. So help us build this thing. Help us make the press conferences amazing. Help us make the body of open houses amazing by creating your own open house, or get together with some friends or relatives or whatever. Start an open house together, right? And then talk about it during the press conference, 2-minute presentations that point to it. It's as simple as that. Boom, 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 just like what I mapped out. And then you'll be up on SNAC.bar. The first press conferences are the most important, by the way, historically. They're the least viewed initially because nobody knows about them, but they're the most important historically because they're all recorded and they're the basis for the SNAC.bar. So do you agree this is important? If yes, then jump in, or at least get connected, jump into the conversation, talk with us. If no, either because I'm missing something or I'm getting something completely wrong, then sign up to present at the press conference for 2 minutes and tell us why. Tell us what's missing. And then tell us where they can go, your open house, to talk with you about it. And then together, we can get together at your open house and work on it and make it better. And feel free to come to any of my meetings. It's all up on theconversation.cc. And thepressconference.org, and soon to be SNAC.bar. SNAC.bar is not rolled out yet. We're working on it. So all roads lead to the press conference, unless I'm really missing something, in which case, call me and say, hey, Jamen, you're missing something. Anyway, the table's set. Please jump in. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I'm going to do a shorter version of this video because this is kind of a long one. But thank you so much for watching. Look forward to seeing you at the press conference. Look forward to seeing you on the conversation. Look forward to seeing you at your open house. Look forward to seeing you at one of my open houses. Let's get together. It's as simple as that. Love you all. Thank you so much for watching. Peace, love, and unity. See you all soon. Thanks.